Hey, what's going on, everyone? Okay, I'll wait a little bit. I'm going to catch up with a friend today. Ryan Martin, I haven't seen him in probably like a good 2 years, maybe 3 years. Time seems to fly by all the time. I also have like a misperception of time. Always when I'm interviewing people, I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you for like, 10 years or something like that. And everyone is like, oh, I saw you like 2 years ago or something of that sort. So uh, let's give it a second. I'm going to select a pen here. I went to the Parker seminars last weekend, so I got some really cool pens. And then we'll rock and roll. Sometimes, because he is in a different country, we do have a little bit of reception issues. In that case, I will be doing a live tomorrow, you guys, on Facebook. I'm kind of debating like a few of the topics, but as always, they'll be good. They'll be good topics for people that are interested in a like going on an honest health journey. Definitely the information I present aren't quick fixes, and so they're not going to appeal to a lot of people, and that's okay. Because those quick fixes at the end of the day, they may give you a little bit of false hope or maybe a little bit of results, but really they just don't work at the end of the day. So it's really misleading to call them a quick fix um, because they really don't fix anything. Hey,
Hey brother, can you hear me okay?
yeah, what up, Ryan? Long time, 2 years, man. I think it's been 2 or 3 years at this point.
Yeah, it's been yeah, it has been about two years I think about that. Yeah, it's been about that.
Yeah.
Is sound okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, the sound is good. Are you able to hear me pretty well? I got fireworks going off in the
Oh,
background.
uh, don't know what that is. I was actually doing that. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but all
It
good. Yeah,
happens sometimes. And I don't know what I do also. I think it's just like if you do a thumbs up or something, it automatically kind of like senses it and gives you gives you a lot of fireworks. I had that happen a few times. I'm like, ah, shit, I don't know what I pressed. I'm just not going to move my hands anymore.
like the new Facebook uh, emoji, yeah, whatever they're doing, they're just
Yeah.
there's a few different ones: the smiley face, the heart, the thumbs up, the fireworks. But yeah, it's been about, I think it has been about a couple of years since we spoke. In fact, it was, and I think it was around this time, March, April, because I'm pretty sure I was in California when we spoke last. I think it was 2020, maybe it was 2022 actually, maybe 3 years.
Yeah, I think so, man. Flies by quick,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it does
But I
go
think
by.
it's because we keep in touch too. That's why it doesn't feel like the time went by that fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's always good to it's like if you're in the community, you just everyone seems doing their thing and you touch base, etc. And yeah, it seems like it's a very it's a different world to what it was 3 years ago. We were right in the middle of yeah, we were right in the middle of a big spell they were trying to put us all under, and a few of us were talking about the truth, and it seems like as that has the paradigm has definitely shifted
Hmm.
uh, for better. There's a lot more people. I think it woke up a lot of people. Um, and yeah, it's like and even recently, it's a big shift that's gone on. I don't know if you saw who Joe Rogan had on his podcast recently, Suzanne Humphries. I only saw this yesterday, and she authored the book Dissolving Illusions, which
Hmm.
is all about certain things get put into the body at a young age. And so that's like a conversation that never would have happened even 3 years ago, I'm pretty sure. And so, yeah, there's a lot that's been going on, man. So, yeah, yes, we've got quite a bit to catch up on. How have you been over the last few years?
Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, touching on your story, like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, I went and luckily my parents had like a really nice cabin in the woods, in Big Bear, California. So they let me use it right when the whole COVID thing started. My dad's like always OCD, and he's like, when it first started, the virus started breaking out. He's like, "Oh, you must leave now," and disappeared in the woods, because I was living in Irvine, California at the time. So I just went up there. I was working remote anyway, so I'm like, ah, what the hell, you know what I mean? Let's just change the scenery and everything. And I was posting my journey, and I made it evident that wasn't going to get the COVID vaccine. But I didn't tell anyone not to get it. I just made it evident that this is like what I'm doing. Here's my routine. My routine was basically like I wasn't around any people, and I had some kettlebells. I would do some workouts in the morning in the woods, There's a stream nearby. Go after the workout, run over there, which is about a mile run, dip in there really quick, run back,
Lovely.
and then get my meats delivered from AZ grass raised beef, which was a regenerative farm nearby. And
Beautiful.
then my dad had a sauna in there too, you know? So I did the sauna like I'm like, dude, this is my routine and this is what I'm doing to stay healthy. And people were like attacking me left and right, man. And the funny part is like, it's like it's always like the most medically drugged out, overweight guy that's attacking you. He's like, oh, you're going to die, you know, you should be afraid for your life. And I'm like, dude, how about your 50% chance of cancer, you know, and like a 33% chance of having a heart attack? No one even questioned that. Like, even to this day, like, no one even questions it. No one's even fearful of that. But you tell people, like, hey, you're going to get this virus that has like a 0.05% chance of killing you if you're already obese and sick. Oh, everyone is up in arms, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden afraid for their health and this and that. And I'm like, dude, like where were you for your entire life of normalized mental and physical pathology? Why aren't you worried about that? You know what I mean? And they go silent, you know, and I never had anyone like try to refute it. They just kind of like, okay, go live with your polio or whatever, you know, or say something stupid. And yeah, I mean, summarizing in short, your summary as well
Yeah, no, yeah.
in experience.
No, I remember. I think I sort of moved. I'm moving because I'm moving in a slightly different direction. It's still the foundation, but I remember I wrote a post about 4 or 5 years ago saying like, I think we're concentrating on the wrong thing. Cancer. Now, heart disease kills 17.1 million every year. Cancer's like just under 10 million, and this is not even a thing. Um, and people, and the other one was like the third leading cause of death is medical mistake. And if they tell the truth, it's actually the first. But they sweep a lot under the rug. And so yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and there's a lot of people that are so bought into medical industry, and this just the way they've been brought up. Like it's just the way it's all been engineered for people to live in fear and to think, you know, that um, there's some drug or some injection somewhere that's going to save them from things that are never actually proven to exist. But that's a whole different. You know, Alex Zech's got 90 hours on that, which is like phenomenal. I've interviewed Dr. Cowan and a few other specialists on that topic. But yeah, no, yeah, going and living amongst nature as you did. It's what everyone should be doing anyway. Like we've got so far removed from that. Um, Most people that they don't even understand. They think that we're like above nature or that nature's in the way, whereas we are nature. And that's when you start to live in accordance with Mother Nature, things start to change in a big way, start to shift. And yeah, but so you said you was in Big Bear. I've never been to Big Bear. I really want to go. I hear it's like that's why I love California. Forget about the politics. Orange County has its own politics. And 2 hours, you got the mountains, you got the sea right there. It's my favourite place. That's where I want to end up. And Big Bear and Woolly Mammoth, I think it is as well. Another mountain, Mammoth. Places I want to visit. I hear good things, but I've never been. Do you ski?
I used to. I kind of like for now just like do a lot of walking and just lift weights like mainly for aesthetics and stuff like that. I have like too many friends that have injured themselves skiing and snowboarding, you know, so I'm like, ah, you know what? I just don't even want to risk it. So I still do a lot of walking. I do want to get, although I just had friends injure themselves snowboarding, I do want to get like a mountain climbing group together again.
Yeah.
I used to do that in the past, but I kind of miss it at this point. I mean, nothing like super dangerous, but just to kind of have something like, um, you know, something to keep you on edge and incentivize to really be on peak performance and injury free all year
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
I find that always like really motivated me in the past, and I will kind of want to get back into doing that. And it's just kind of something cool to do with friends as well, like maybe once or twice a year to get together and to have like a cool like 3 or 4 month training program for to get ready for that as well, which is also
To
like
give you
something really interesting.
a goal. Yeah, to give you like a goal to move towards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. A lot of people have started doing that, like hikes, mountain walks. It's a good time to be out in nature. Um, I love skiing. I went skiing recently, and yeah, you do have to keep your wits about you, 100%, because there's a lot going on. But it's I always like I just want to be the best. I think Idol Portal talked about this. If you know Idol Portal, he's like a movement specialist. He talks about trying to be the best generalist. So people get into a certain sport and they narrow it down and they try to be the best at their sport. And that's great if you're being like an Olympic athlete or if you're actually a professional athlete, which once upon a time I was trying to be. But I want to be like the best generalist. I want to be able to run, 10 miles if I want. I want to be able to sprint, but I also want to be able to climb. I want to be able to pull myself up. I want to be able to do anything I want. Go skiing, whatever it is, hiking. And that's sort of like my goal is to be able to do. If you were like, right, let's go for a hike, but cool, let's go. I'm not saying I'd be able to go and hike Everest straight away. Obviously, you need to train that, but as in like, it wouldn't be like oh no, you look at some bodybuilders they're so big they can't move, and then you look at other like yogis, they're very almost frail, they're very frail, um, and so for me, it's like the more I can be put in any situation, I feel like yeah, I can adapt to that. That's sort of like my philosophy at the moment, and I think it's something that yeah, it's enjoyable. It means you can be put into any situation. For example, was in Costa Rica a couple of years ago, and like, oh, have you ever surfed before? I was like, no. This should be interesting. We'll give it a go. And surfing is challenging, very challenging. But when you're like yourself as well, you train, you eat well, um, and you're fit and flexible enough, you can just get up and you can take these things on. And I wasn't a great surfer, but over 3 4 weeks, I learned how to actually surf, and so that's sort of where I've been at in my in my sort of training in life. Really, it's just trying to be able to get into anything and just enjoy it. But being amongst nature, lifting weights is a big part. I think that a lot of people. I see you put up a lot of posts recently that your physique completely natural, and I don't think many people understand that you can get into that shape completely naturally, but you need to have the discipline to eat and to live that way, which I think a lot of people struggle with. Um, yeah, it's especially when there's a lot of people in the health world, in the health industry, that um, are pushing certain paradigms, but it's pretty clear that they've been using certain other things to fuel their performance. Liver King was an example. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. You mean not multivitamins?
yeah, not spinach, not liver. Um, and so yeah, people you have to have good discernment to understand what's going on. But there are a lot of people like yourself who can do it completely naturally. I've never taken anything myself, and just don't think that you need to um, really at all. It's because like, we'll go into it, but like the fundamentals, a lot of people um, haven't got discipline to do them right, and so to eat well, to hydrate, to sleep, to get up with the sun, to not um, be constantly distracted. And I think this is something you talked about. I think that's what I posted was recently talking about. This is this I create this physique without any steroids, without anything else. I can teach you to do the same, um, and that's something that I think like anyone, everyone wants to. You said I think just before we got on the call, I think you were talking about it. Everyone wants the next fad, the next thing that's going to give
Hmm.
you results. But there is the quickest results are taken by not taking any shortcuts. You keep on cutting corners, you go around in circles,
Yeah.
and um, I think that's something that most people, if they just understood that within a relatively short frame of time, they could completely change their life and their look and their health. I mean, you've probably seen that yourself.
Yeah. And the good, I mean, you touched on a few points I want to kind of go back on here. But the good thing is like, yes, you do need to do it your whole life. You know what I mean? It needs to basically be part of your DNA. But if you're like in a really steep negative right now with your like mental and physical health, just know like a lot of people can turn it tremendously around in just 4 to 6 months. They might not solve all their problems for sure, but it'll be like a night and day difference already in that short amount of time. Which is, I mean, we're already on month 4 of this year, and it seems like it's just been a few days since the year just started, you know? So it's not that long. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like I understand everyone has different goals in life. You know, one guy wants to be a good computer programmer, another guy like the president of a company, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like all those things require like good mental and physical health to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like, how far are you really going to go if you struggle with depression all the time, or chronic gut issues, or orthopedic issues, or anything of that sort? Because like when people are in pain, I know you know this. I'm talking to the audience through you. When people are in pain, it kind of fixates their attention. It's really hard to consciously focus on anything else in life when you have depression, because you see everything under the lens of depression. Or when you have gut issues, now it's just you're focused on your gut issues all day, you know what I mean, and stuff of this sort. So it kind of really lowers your conscious experience of the external world, like lowers the quality of your conscious experience of the external world.
Yeah, you can't enjoy it. You can't fundamentally you can't enjoy life, right? And so
Yeah.
that and like and you said, so you haven't got depression, you're depressed. it's like you're it's like that's how you're living. It's not expansive. It's depressed, and you're it's like depression is looking back at the past, thinking the future's going to be the same, whereas anxiety is worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet. In simple terms, I've had to deal with this recently. So I had my own health issues years ago through my skin. Um, 18 years ago, chest, back, keloid scarring, acne all over my face, cysts, had everything like all the drugs, steroids, steroid injections, surgeries, none of it worked until I finally found out the truth. And diet change, detoxification, gut health, I had parasites, heavy metals, cleared all that, all my issues went. And then um, in July, I actually got blue light to hospital before I was having a heart attack. I don't know if you know this. And this is because, and it actually wasn't, it was severe panic attack. And we will save this one, man. But it was because my mind, I'd done everything physically, even though I was doing what I thought was all correct, the meditation, the journaling, going for walks in nature, eating really well, competing in sports. Under the surface, my mind was still going a mile a minute. Trying to run a business, trying to help everyone, trying to look after my family, my friends, taking on the big financial burden of taking care of everyone, having this um, this need for validation, this need to succeed, and this is the journey I've been on the last 8 months, like diving more and more into this, because I was like, and I've even got some stuff off my face here right now. So this is all stuff I'm going through right now. I'm like a butterfly, like the caterpillar in the cocoon, turning into a butterfly. So many of these deep emotions, stored, suppressed emotions that I hadn't felt that are coming out, things I'm diving into around my family and patterns, programs, my central nervous system that had been set up because I didn't. When I first met my ex-girlfriend, she was like, "Do you get anxiety?" I was like, "No, I don't think I do. I've never experienced it." What I later realised was that I was living with chronic anxiety, and it was just
Mhm.
what was normal. And even though I was doing all these things right, like because I hadn't got this right, because I hadn't um, wasn't able to actually allow myself the time to process things clearly, to feel my feelings, that I would just push them to the side, or I just ignore them, or I just distract myself with things, whether it be diving more into work, you know, pushing harder, sport, even like sexual exploits, for example. Anything that my system used to be set up for dopamine, for chaos, because that's how my childhood was, how my life was, uh, and my parents were just doing the best they could. They didn't know any different because they had just learned from their parents, who had learned from their parents. Both my granddads went to war. They come back very different men, and the personality that my mum and dad had to develop to be around them meant that they never really felt their stuff either. And this is what happens a lot. And so right now, it's up to us to almost break these generational issues. Otherwise, we pass them on. And so I haven't got children yet, but I don't want to pass this on to my children. So this is the work that I've been doing right now. And as we were talking there, like the foundation is nutrition, is making sure your vessel's clean, um, is being in nature, is exercising, etc. But then Peter Crow, I don't know Peter Crow in The Mind Architect, he's got a beautiful line where he says, you can only be the greatest version of your limited self unless you sort this out, the mind. And so once we can actually start to go deep into the mind, and start to be conscious about our thoughts and understand, why am I doing this? Am I saying that to impress someone? Am I doing this to seek validation? Am I doing this to stop myself being in that uncomfortableness of feeling lonely? Or am I having this, am I eating this food or moving towards this situation to make me feel better? What am I actually hiding from? What are the feelings I'm actually hiding from? And so that's what I've been diving into recently, and it's been very, very powerful stuff. Looking at my nervous system and really learning more about myself, and then um, talking about this journey with my audience as well, so I can help as many people as possible. Because it's just, the body's like an onion, and once you start to peel the layers back, there's layers you got on the surface, then you go a bit deeper, and you go a bit deeper, and the deeper you go, it's like, oh, this is interesting, and so it's like what people always say: unless you change your identity around how you see yourself, you'll only get short-term results, right? Because you'll do the diet or you'll do the detoxification, but if you don't see yourself as the person who is healthy, as you said, Eugene, it has to be part of your DNA. It has to become your lifestyle. If you don't become that person, you'll just go back to being the person you were. Even when you become that healthy person, if you don't deal with unresolved mental emotional issues, or the fact your nervous system, how it's set up to seek dopamine or to seek things that pull you out of your body and because your mind's running the show, then you're just going to once again, yeah, be the best version of your limited self, and you're going to keep on hitting roadblocks. Or if you don't listen, like myself, was it God whispers? You don't listen, he shouts. You get
Mhm.
to be a panic attack, um, which mimics a heart attack. You know, because the heart is linked to a center of joy. When you look at it metaphysically, um, I had like, even though I was getting up and moving towards my purpose, I had lost a lot of joy in my life. I was just getting through things, and I was just wearing a mask to people, just so I could, help, do what I do in my business, help people, pay the bills, etc. And so, yeah, that's like where I've been the last 8 months.
Yeah. I think like what you're describing, I got this phrase from Stefan Walensky. It's not even mine, but he made it very clear. It's kind of something we're not aware of already, but it's just the way it's said. It makes it very obvious. It's like critical to meet the problem at the level of the problem. You know what I mean? And that's so important because if you don't, you're just kind of in this endless loop of symptom management. You know what I mean? You're running after one symptom. Okay, maybe, and that's a big maybe. You might solve it, but then another symptom a few years comes by from some other kind of system in the body, and you're just kind of like chasing one symptom after another your whole entire life, basically. Which is why, I mean, we spoke about this on our last podcast, which got deleted from YouTube, but not Spotify. Why symptom management healthcare almost never works, because they're not meeting the problem at the level of the problem, and oftentimes they're just meeting it at the biological level, where all the symptoms are manifesting themselves, obviously. But a lot of people have problems at the emotional level, or the thinking dimension, or even the educational level. I mean, how many people do you know like what even real food is anymore? You know what I mean? So it's an educational issue too, or environmental issue. I don't know how things are in the UK these days, but the average American in the US has about $800 in their bank account. You have to live in a fight or flight environment when you're that financially paycheck to paycheck, basically. You know what I mean? I mean, you're like one blown out tire away from having zero in your account or negative or something of that sort. And now they're even making on Uber Eats, you could pay for your pizza in installments. You don't even
Crazy.
have to pay for it all up front. Do you believe that, man?
What?
Fast all food, not just pizza. I'm just using
Right,
pizza as
right.
an example here,
Mhm.
which is pretty crazy knowing how people like stress eat or kind of use food to cope with a lot of stress, and now they can have more access to it because they can disperse their $20 pizza throughout four months of payments with interest, of course.
It's yeah, fast food things. I never really understood it. Well, I don't understand it on a certain level. I understand from a taste, and it's like a comforting thing for people, or it's like their excitement. That's their joy for the day. They're eating that flavor. even though they probably feel very tired and don't feel great afterwards. It's like that mouth pleasure. The fast food thing is never really got me because it comes in half an hour and half an hour, 30 minutes. And within those 30 minutes, you can make a phenomenal tasting organic meal whilst listening to some music and relaxing or whatever. So that's never, but I do understand, yeah, unless you have to hit the problem at the surface of a problem. Um, Otherwise, you're just masking symptoms. And that's, that's like where we as coaches can really help people for our own journeys, for what we experience ourselves, for what we see with our clients, and through being really honest and open and vulnerable, which is something that I think is the next stage. That's why I think right now as well, the movement is all about personal brand, when it comes to business. And we've been doing this for a long time, right? People that you get to, once you when when you are just very open and honest, people buy into what you're saying because you know you've got no agenda apart from, yeah, we're businessmen and we have to run our business, we have to make money, but we're doing things that help the world. We're not detracting from the world. We're giving people their life back. Um, you know, it's funny how people don't. Well, certain people earn certain money and they're like, oh, that's fine, but when businessmen earn money that doing good things, it's like sometimes in the health industry, people think that we shouldn't earn money or that people, we should give our stuff away for free, which in my experience is backwards because people don't do it when you give it for free.
Hmm.
They have to pay attention. When they pay attention. And also, when you're being very authentic, people can tell what you're saying um, holds weight because you've lived it as well. You've breathed it, you've gone through it, and so it's very obvious to see. That's why when eventually when you mentioned Liver King earlier on, he had a lot going on. So and there's reasons why he did what he did, and a lot of it probably comes down to inner child wounds and not feeling enough, not feeling validation and things like that. But it's like when you tell lies, eventually it comes back round and bites you, you know. And so it's one of the things that I've always been, like yourself, I've always been very strong when it comes to business. It's like I'm going to tell the truth from the way I see it, and be very authentic with it and not hide anything. When I went through my issue 8 months ago, people were like, "Oh, you sure you want to say that? It might hurt your business." And I was like, "If I don't tell people this, if I'm not honest and I hide things like this, and one day it gets leaked, no one's ever going to believe me again." And so, and also me talking about it, it allowed people to think, so I understand, oh, Ryan went through this and he's in all these things. Like, oh, this is very, very important to make sure we get that version of ourselves. Um, you know, we take care of that part of ourselves. And so, yeah, it's we're constantly learning all the time about ourselves. And it's, I think, the more we dive into being vulnerable, being authentic, and being able to actually look at ourselves in the mirror and understand where we're not, because no one's perfect, where we're not performing to our potential. That's the only way that we grow, right? And it's the only way that we um, can become the highest or the higher version of ourselves. And so, yeah, it's an interesting journey, but it's fun as well. When you what I learned recently as well, when I stopped taking life so seriously, um, and start to get the joy back in life. You probably know these are the four questions that shamans ask. When did you stop dancing?
Oh.
So when someone's ill, they say, when did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop enjoying life? I think it's when did you stop having wonder for the world? I think it's like those four questions because people can get so locked in, so
Hmm.
focused, so in their tunnel, they forget to go out and explore life. And two of the books actually, one of the things that happened in my last relationship was my girlfriend called me hiring every single way, and I was like, wow, I thought I was masculine energy, and I realised I really wasn't. I was short on quite a lot, and that was very powerful. I read some books, one being the masculine in relationships, very very powerful book, and another one, King, Warrior, Lover, Magician. I don't know if you've heard that book,
No.
and very very powerful book. And what it taught me is, so they're the four main archetypes any man wants to be, like king, warrior, lover, magician. The magician's all about using their wisdom. The lover's all about being able to step into life and enjoy it and go and just enjoy the day and to be spontaneous. The warrior is about having structure and having discipline, and the king is about being the king of the kingdom. Being generative, being loving, pulling people up, never being insecure. And all these four archetypes, they have shadow sides that you can go to. The king, for example, he has the high chair tyrant, which is like the bully, the person who wants all the power so they can manipulate people. Then they have has the weakling, which is the character that Marcus Aurelius' son is in Gladiator, scheming, conniving. And this is what most people, where like it's like a patriarchy. Most people don't realise a patriarchy isn't actually true masculine energy. It is the high chair tyrant, by power or force or. And so when you actually understand this at deep level, you start to see things. You step back and you actually come out of your own head. And you start to look at your own actions, and you're like, "Oh, why am I thinking that? Why am I saying that?" And you start to actually observe yourself and everyone around you. Things start to change in a big way because it starts to change your reality, and that is it's uncomfortable at first because your nervous system always goes, your brain goes to what's easy and what's safe. But once you start to change, the world changes, and it's like I don't know if you know. I think it's Bassar. He channels like an ET. He talks about this, but he talks about when every moment you are stepping into a new reality based on your choices, and you can change your reality and the world you live in by this. It's like almost it's almost quantum, like the quantum world,
Mhm.
and it's like someone can be living their life in the same world, but in a completely different reality to you. Um, which is what we see anyway with like politics and people being completely split. They live in completely different worlds. But when it on you on an individual level, it's quite a powerful place to be in when you start to observe things differently. And then your world starts to change when you start to expect the best rather than the worst. When you start to move in a way where you're calm and centered and balanced rather than rushing or rather than being being tired and wired or you know where you're constantly chasing rather than attracting. It's a very different game, and this is all the stuff that I'm really learning and implementing each day, and it's really interesting. I don't know if you've done any of this stuff yourself, Eugene, or if this is anything you've looked into, but I'd like to hear your view on it.
Yeah. Um, I, I've studied this, not the works you've mentioned, but I've studied kind of human consciousness for Dr. Donald Hoffman from UCI got me into it a long time ago, from 2007. And he got me interested in that subject, and I kind of continued it through there. I started with studying his interface theory. Uh, he luckily just became like very popular online. He was just on the Lex Friedman podcast maybe like 2 years ago. I think he got like 15 million or 30 million views or something like that. So he got my journey started on that, and then from 2000, uh, was it 2015? I forgot the exact dates, but maybe 2018 or something. I ran into Stefan Wolinski's work in quantum psychology. I mean, in short, it's basically like a bridge between um, Western psychology, which is all about like analyzing the conditioned self and then how to tinker with that conditioned self, and the non-duality,
Okay.
basically. So it's kind of like a language that Westerners can understand better. Because if you dive right into non-duality, it kind of is like seems like way too far out there, and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, he talks a lot about like a lot of the points you mentioned here in terms of you ask, like why are you got to ask yourself like why am I doing this? Like why am I doing XYZ? Why am I looking for more money or more prestige or whatever? I would argue in terms of you mentioned the central nervous system, it just always seems to always tie back to survival, like no matter what you do. So, like for example, um, a person like, oh, why do you go to college? Oh, so I want to get a degree so I can have more prestige, or maybe get a better job easier, maybe. Then I can live in a better neighborhood and attract X, Y, Z. And why do you need all that? Oh, just so I can survive better, obviously. even enlightenment and spiritual paths, it's all the same. It's like, why do you want to get enlightened? Oh, I want to get enlightened because it'll make me flow through the external world with less friction, and then people will see I'm calm and collected and ask me what I'm doing and kind of seek out my advice. Then I'll be some guru. Except it's like, oh, why is all that important to you? Because it just helps you survive better, you know? So everything kind of always goes back to survival, and the central nervous system kind of creating like stories around just basic biological needs of survival, you know, stories and philosophies, et cetera, et cetera. Um, uh, so stuff of that sort. I don't know if that answers your
Yeah,
question. I
I
kind
know.
of
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like a lot of the things that, yeah, it's like they help us survive, but they don't help us thrive, right? And so that's where you have the disparity because it's like, okay, if I want to go here, then I have to stop doing that. But my system feels like this is safe, and so your body will always, or your system will always return to what's safe rather than what is, yeah, not safe or foreign or for you to get to there. So it's teaching yourself to feel safe in those situations. It's like ice baths, for example. Yeah, they've got many benefits in terms of cold shock proteins and stimulating the auxiliary nervous system, etc., and mental clarity. But one of the things is teaching your nervous system to be calm in a stressful situation, and that's one of the things that when you start to, because of the way the world's set up today as well, Eugene. It's like it's not 1960
yeah.
or even before then. It's there's a million things where people have been pushing to fight and flight, freeze or or fight, flight, freezing is one more, but they've been pushed into that 75% of the time because they're like an email's coming through, or someone's calling them, or they're in a job they don't like, or they're under too much blue light, or they haven't got time to eat, or something's happened with their children, or they haven't got enough money, and all these things are going on, and so our body's constantly in that fight and flight system, and that's something. One of the things is actually to learn or to catch yourself when you're in that system and learn how to calm yourself. And there's things that you can do to bring yourself back to balance or back into that parasympathetic system. Your rest
Mhm.
digest. This is one. There's many reasons why illness and disease are through the roof. But one of them is because most people are never actually in their rest and digest anymore. They can't digest food. They can't detoxify the body. Um, they can't recover, restore, rejuvenate. Because they're constantly in the fight and flight system. They're burning through their adrenals. They're burning through, their thyroid's out of whack. Their hormones are out of balance. They can't sleep. Um, and this is, you know, there's also other reasons as well. But it's like a big soup of
Mhm.
not to live.
You mean like not a soup, you mean like a cesspool?
There you go.
Probably
Cesspool.
more
Yeah, yeah,
more accurately described.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I find that's one of the shortcomings of the healthcare system. We talked about this last time, but it's like everyone's, even as you know, a lot of healthcare professionals are so sick. Most of them are. Just go to any health convention, and I mean, I went to one over the weekend, last weekend, and there's like some three doctors selling some like fat loss laser, and they're all three of them are fat, you know. And I'm like, dude, like, why aren't you using this laser on yourself? And they're like, oh, we got the studies to prove it works. And I'm like, this and that. And I'm like, dude, come on, you know, like, how could you be so silly? But my point being is, you get oftentimes like a lot of like they're actually academically smart, you know what I mean? Um, but what's happening is I find they've accepted living in a swamp, for example, and instead of just stepping out of the swamp and letting your body heal naturally, they continue to live in it, but try to tinker on damage control. Oh, how could I like not change my ways, continue to work these crazy hours, you know what I mean, et cetera, and kind of maybe take this adrenal support supplement or do this special whatever medical drug, and it just never works. You see that people look haggard, they look more overweight, they're full of disease, and and then they write books on how to do the same thing, and then people that are gullible and naive follow these lost practitioners that are lost themselves and don't get better either. You know, it's not surprising because it's like, dude, you can't even find your own way out of the swamp. You know what I mean? How are you gonna help others if you can't even kind of do it yourself? You know?
It's you said there, like survival and status. They're staying it because of status. They want to keep the analogy you used there is great. It's like the stone in the shoe. You can either like take painkillers and try to
Hmm.
heal it, or you can actually just remove the stone out of the shoe. And so that's a key one. And yeah, no, it's I mean, Paul Check talks about this, right? It's like they're so left brain logic, they've completely lost actual sight of what really works, and that we are part of nature. You see, you get two people with PhDs going out of their ear holes, like 3 or 4 PhDs and whatever else, on diametrically opposed sides of an argument, both arguing for their version. And it's like, okay, then your common sense has got to kick in and say, like, if someone's arguing that organic food is obviously better because it's chemical free, and the other one's saying, oh, well, no, conventional food, it's made of all this stuff is no different to organic food, then you have to like use your brain and become an adult. And when people are saying you these things, it's like me and you would get up onto stage and we're like, people are like, "Oh, does your program work for you?" You take your shirt off, and clearly it does. Um, a lot of these people saying this stuff, you look at them and you're like, "What works? Why isn't it working for you?" And so,
Hmm.
and that's like, yeah, where like, the disconnect is. But because of titles and things behind the name, I think Rudolf Steiner talked about this. You're in this age where it's like the age of materialism or the age of false intellect appearing real. Yeah. Um, by the way, is that in the background? Is that loud? Can you hear that in the background?
I do hear people talking, but it's not like overly
Right.
disruptive.
Okay,
Your
perfect.
voice is still dominant in the
Perfect.
conversations.
Perfect. So yeah, it's but what I think, well, the people that are not going to learn the lesson, they will fall by the wayside. And what we're trying to do um, is help people, to understand this and to live healthy and happy lives, and we can almost bring this together as like a healthy community, and live our values. It's going to be a game changer. Eugene, whereabouts are you? Are you in California now?
I'm right now in Las Vegas, like right now in Las Vegas, but I'm still a resident in Texas.
Resident of Texas.
Yeah, resident in Texas. But right now I'm in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, have you got with friends or is it just a holiday?
No, I'm visiting my parents here. They live
Oh,
here.
okay, nice, 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 nice.
Yeah.
Been in Vegas a few times. It's very dry, isn't it? Very dry in Vegas.
Yeah, luckily the parents have a jacuzzi, so so I
All
just
right,
hang out there a lot, so it's not quite dry in that
all
jacuzzi,
right.
you
No,
know.
I meant for I remember I went there, like my skin started to crack after about 5 or 6 days. I was like, it's very dry. But it's a cool place. There's actually um, a lot of health conventions that go on there now, right? And there's a lot of people in the health space in Vegas. Um, but so you moved from California to Texas. I think actually you were just doing that last time we spoke. Whereabouts in Texas are you?
uh, San Antonio.
Okay,
It's
are
kind
you ready?
of it's pretty close to Austin.
Yeah,
Austin's more popular.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Austin. I went to Austin 2 years ago now in March, and it was nice. Yeah, it was fun. It's got like a California-esque vibe to it. Um, Keep Austin weird is their tagline. Um, but no, I haven't been to San Antonio. Would you recommend it?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. I'm curious, have you ever been confused by the labels in the grocery store? In Yevgeny's book, he demystifies the difference between caged, cage-free, free-range, and pasture-raised meats. He also covers how to avoid GMOs, source high-quality water, fish, supplements, and other related topics. It's a beautifully illustrated, non-technical read that comes with a comprehensive video series and other extended learning materials. Jump on Amazon and check out the book titled Anti-Factory Farm Shopping Guide by Eugne Trufkin. Now let's dive back into the podcast.
If you like very tropical and kind of like wet environments, that have like a lot of rivers, a lot of green trees, and just housing that's not that expensive, then it's a place for you, you know? So I like it a lot.
Yeah,
It's everyone's going to be different though, but I mean, you mentioned the conventions. There are a lot of conventions here. That's why I've been going to them. I'm like, oh, it's so convenient. I just kind of walk across the street, and I'm like at a convention every other week here. But I just like, I've been going to these conventions, or I've been in the field like you for like 20 years already, you know?
Yeah,
And I always try to keep up and go to these conventions and kind of chat with people, get different ideas going. But I think at the end of the day, man, it's like the problem is, and I understand it makes money for a lot of people. They're conscious of it. They know. Uh, but the problem is they're just continuing to live in this swamp. You know what I mean? And it's no one's going to get better. I don't care how many gadgets or supplements they throw at the problem. No one's going to get better unless you like step out of the swamp and start living like a human being again. And to do that, I feel modern culture makes it very hard. And you have to figure out a way. You don't have to like move off grid, but you got to figure out a way how to disconnect from that kind of fast paced culture that has normalized mental and physical pathology to a large extent. And without doing that, there are no absolutes, and maybe one out of every few hundred people can do it still. But most central nervous systems can't take that kind of abuse. It hasn't evolved to be that stimulated and that rushed all the time. And then you throw in all the biocides used to grow food, all the environmental pollution, the EMF pollution. Then you got problems with the external world, but also problems with the internal world. Sometimes it's just your harsh internal critic, or maybe you have some delusional fantasy self of yourself that you're never going to live up to, and that creates a lot of tension and friction in the central nervous system, you know. So there are a lot of things to consider, but the point being, it's like I brought this up last time with you. My grandma never, she raised me on an off-grid farm. That's where I learned about biodynamic farming, and she never connected into society. She never had a job, you know, and she lived to 87 in like super top shape, you know what I mean? Never going to the doctors a single time. And I guarantee you, she's actually more wise about sustainable health practices than a lot of these MDs and PhDs you run into here. And by a lot, I mean pretty much 99% of them, I feel, are like completely lost,
yeah.
you know? And you can look at them, just look at them. They look disastrous, you know? They don't know, they don't know real health practices or how to live life sustainably. And that's it. That's the foundation. And if you can't get that right, I don't care how many books the person read or whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's because fundamentally what we've been sold as success, everyone's chasing it, and then they realise like, what was the point of a lot of people? They haven't, if their purpose isn't bigger than just getting more money, it's like, what was the point? And like when you not here anymore, everyone forgets your name
Yeah.
anyway in a few years. And so why not actually connect and do things you enjoy and purposeful? And you know, when you talk about that, you know, being at the stage of not rushing, when you don't rush, it's funny when you rush, everything speeds up. When you slow down, the world slows down with you as well, and you actually get more like. And also, things can speed up. And so I have to be careful of this myself because I've been and I have to be aware of it myself. But no, we'll take time. We'll take time to slow down. So I was actually going to ask you, how have you found with running a business, helping people, making money? How do you go about it, Eugene? What have you found works for yourself? Because you take time off, you do. Do you feel guilty when you take time off? Do you? Yeah. And but yeah, how do you go about it?
Yeah. So it took a few years to build this in, you know, it didn't happen overnight. And this is like what's worked for me. But I kind of outside of maybe 3 years, 4 years of my career, I never worked full time, you know, and I did that, and I was able to accomplish that by like a few ways. One is Uh, I only currently work, and I've been doing this already for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, just 2 days a week, just doing fully remote coaching, you know, Monday, Tuesday, and then I'm off the rest of the week. I devote like 2 days to continued education. I just like to read. I feel like all the time when you pick up a book, it's like you're going on a date with that author, you know? And you get to pick their brain that maybe it took them 30 or 40-year career to summarize what's in that book, and you can know it in like a few hours, you know what I mean? Or maybe a week it'll take you to read that book. But it always comes to finances. You know, how do you make it happen financially? That's the big question. So the easiest thing I would recommend that worked for me personally is I got like a triplex. And each unit in the triplex basically has like two rooms. It's pretty spacious, and one bathroom. and I rent out the other two units, and I basically get to live for free. I have a used car that I paid off in full. So once you don't have rent or don't have a car payment, unless you have many kids, your expenses really just become almost zero quite quickly. You know what I mean? Because the biggest expense for most people is just going to be rent, and like a car is deceptively expensive. It's usually around eight. If you add it all up, it's usually around like 8 to 10,000 a year. You know, with the gas, with the payments, insurance, maybe a repair here and there. Um, so those two things, that's how like I eliminated it. And all of a sudden, you don't have any more financial stress unless you're really reckless with your spending. So another thing is, I'm a really big believer, and I got this by observing my grandmother, is past your biological needs, like materialism isn't going to do anything for you except provide sugar highs at best. Sometimes the sugar highs may be very potent, and very intense, but that's it. They're just going to pique your interest, and then you're going to lose that interest quite quickly. And then you're back to, if you are too external world focused, you're back to feeling empty and then looking for that next thing to buy or that thing to accomplish. And then you work a couple of years for it, like very intensely, and then you accomplish it. It makes you feel good for a bit, and then you're back to ground zero. So after biological needs, I'm a really big believer that materialism isn't going to do anything for you. It's not going to provide any lasting happiness, just sugar highs at best. But your money's gone once you spend it too. And all those years you spent trying to accumulate that money too are gone as well. So those things, I mean, the triplex, the paid off car, living a minimalist lifestyle, are the big players. I mean, some other things that have worked is I devote a lot of time to continued education. So having like a more respectable hourly pay, so you can make a good amount of money working 2 days a week, and you don't need to work like 5 days a week or something like that. And then you can just put the difference in kind of like an index fund, have that be your retirement plan, and have the triplex situation be like fully paid off in like a few years, and because that's going to be your biggest expense when you retire as well, your living situation, or health issues. In the US, 80% of personal bankruptcies are due to health issues.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? 80% of all personal bankruptcies just are the root cause is just health issues. So, and then that's it. You can take, just by following those simple steps, you can take yourself out of that fight or flight environment, of like fast paced, constantly having to do this. I mean, you can be more extreme with it too, and you can take up like hunting. I do hunting a lot as well. Just luckily enough to make a friend that has like a lot of acreage near San Antonio that lets me use. Yeah, I have like a garden at home. It's like a 10 by 10 space. Just with that space, a 10 by 10, I grow about 6 to 700 pounds of beyond organic and biodiverse vegetables annually, which is way more than enough for me. There are like a lot of mulberry trees in my areas too. So that provides a tremendous amount of berries like 2 months out of the year. And then the rest, if you can just, I go to natural grocers and buy like they have like a lot of organic and regenerative food there. Um, but even that, it's like not that expensive, eating out and being sick and living like a very external world dominated uh, strategy life is extremely expensive and not satisfying. And just look around. You can, maybe not where you're at right now, but I'm sure you can step outside anywhere in the UK or especially the US. And 9 out of 10 Americans you run into are full of obesity, misery, and disease. So they will turn around and say, like, what I'm doing is extreme. But I guarantee you what I'm doing is completely normal. Like what a normal sustainable lifestyle looks like, how they're living is what extreme is. But like you said on our other podcast, it's just so common
common. Yeah,
that it's normal now.
yeah.
And
It's
I
like
use that line often because it's like that's the saddest part is people just don't see it as what they're doing is not normal. It's like sick. It is sick.
it's um, it's actually. I mean, here's the dilemma I've got because you walk outside the house and yeah, in the UK, most people are overweight. Even people that think they're not overweight, they are overweight. Like they're carrying a stone or two more than they should be. You look at pictures from the 1970s and no one was overweight. And so this is where I'm like, in the 1970s, people definitely still enjoyed eating cake and chocolate. They definitely still enjoyed a drink. They probably smoked, and we do today, obviously. But people are much, much more obese today, and it's like it's because there's so many different things going on. I'm saying that the human condition wasn't any different then, is in terms of we still like the same things now that we did then, but we're like 3 to 4 stone heavier. Think of how toxic the world is and how it's set up. There's those designer chemicals and things that are in our bodies, and this is why detoxification is a huge part of my revival course because most people are just so loaded with chemicals and heavy metals and flame retardants and plastics. People were eating a credit card of plastic a week, which I don't think they were in the 1970s. And so you walk outside the door. Most people don't even know what it's like to feel good or to feel healthy or to have good blood sugar like stable and to not get tired and to sleep well and to look in good shape. It's like they haven't got a clue, and because they're just living like everyone else, and as you said, they think it's normal. It's not normal. It's just common. And yeah, I've got no interest in being normal. Never have. When it comes to that, like yourself, and so yeah, it's also when it becomes your lifestyle to be healthy, it becomes non-negotiable. It's like one of my values is health, freedom, and health at the top of the tree. Then you'll set your life up in a way where you're going to be healthy, where you're going to, you know, if I have to drive an extra 20 minutes to go to a farm to get better quality food, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, it's not even a thing. If we're eating out with friends, I'm going to pick the restaurant that has organic food that doesn't use rancid oils. And if it costs a bit more, then I'm going. That's it. That's it. It's just the way it is. Like my health, I value it that much. Or you just eat at home and you have a barbecue or whatever. Um, you go ahead.
Ryan, not to interrupt you. So about this costing more thing.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, like I hear this often, but the average American spends like eight to $16,000 a year on non-essential expenses every
All
year,
right.
like without questioning it at all. 2,000 calorie all organic diet, at least in the US, is about like 6 to 7,000 a year. Like every day, you're having 2,000 calories of organic food. So 6 to 7,000 too expensive for organic food, but eight to 16,000 for alcohol, eating out,
Yeah.
that new iPhone. Oh, not expensive at all.
Yeah.
It's a core values problem
No, 100%.
because sick people can't make healthy decisions or they wouldn't be sick to begin with. And this is why society has normalized mental and physical illness to so many standard deviations in the wrong direction that even sick people don't think they're sick. They think they're like normal. That's why you hear people say, and that pisses me off. It doesn't piss me off. I just feel stupid for how like naive they are. Is when they say like, "Oh, I'm eating healthy," and the dude's like 30 pounds overweight. I'm like, dude, come on, man.
Or
Like,
Eugene,
wake up, dude.
or Eugene, they say this. They say, "Well, I've got this wrong, and this wrong, but apart from that, I'm healthy." I'm
Yeah.
like, what? What do you mean? So you've got diabetes, acid reflux, and whatever, inflammation. Apart from that, you're healthy. It's like there's three, like, yeah, chronic illnesses you've got going on. Um, but yeah, no, as you said, it's a core values problem, and people, when you take away the crisps and the Coke and the sandwich and all the rubbish, and you actually just eat real food, the bill goes way down. The bill goes way down, and you don't even. There's all these aisles and aisles and aisles of quote unquote food. You don't need to be anywhere near them. There's like the outside of the supermarket, um, or just go to your farmers. There's so many farm shops now, and there's so many markets, loads of markets in America you can go to and get your food from farmers. And as you said, people that are unhealthy, they don't even realize they're unhealthy. They think that they're thinking clearly, but your brain can only be as healthy as the blood that surrounds it, right? And also as healthy as your gut, the vagus nerve from gut to brain. And most people, they're so. I've had old acquaintances, not even friends anymore, acquaintances, and I'm just like, wow, you can't even see how much Kool Aid you drunk. To think. I mean, you think the fact they look 10 years older than they do, the fact that they're 5, 6 stone overweight, the fact that they're constantly smoking and drinking and putting things up their nose, it's like, how do you how do you think that's a healthy lifestyle? How do you think you're thinking clearly when you're eating nothing but fast food and garbage? How do you think your brain can be healthy when you're living that way? Um, and it's not even to judge or whatever. It's just it's common sense. If you've got an unhealthy body, it's not going to be able to think healthy. It's like athletes that are taking all these, because the fitness industry is like it's almost mutually
The drug
exclusive.
industry.
Yeah, it's like mutually exclusive from the health industry, right? And so they're taking all these supplements to improve performance or to get instant performance enhancement that are going to deplete their health. And so, how is an unhealthy body going to outcompete a healthy body? It's like it's not. People just got so much willpower they can push through it. They've got superior genetics, but eventually one day, that balloon you keep blowing it up, it will burst, and it does burst a lot of the time in a bigger way. And it's like a chronic illness or an advanced disease, or something happens, and they're like, oh, but you know, I was eating this and I got told it was okay because it's been sold. That's the one. If it was that bad for you, it wouldn't be allowed. They wouldn't be allowed to sell it. I was like, oh, really? Well, they can sell alcohol and cigarettes. So, yeah, this is really people just got to take a step back and actually look at what's going on and look at their choices. And what is it? This quote is so powerful. And since I heard it, yeah, I always come back to it. It's like how much growth or how much growth you'll make, or how much you will fulfill your potential, reach your higher self, comes down to how much truth you can hear about yourself or even see about yourself and not run away. And it's like when people hold that mirror up or people point things out, are you going to get defensive and be like, well, or are you going to be like, you know what, you're right, that's interesting. Why am I doing that? Why am I eating this? Why am I saying that? Why am I moving in this way? And that becomes a very powerful situation.
Yeah. I think that definitely requires a lot of self-awareness and a certain level of IQ, which a lot of people won't be able to meet for sure. But that kind of brings me back to um, the big question. I don't know if it's even possible or worth worrying about, but like I'll say 10% of people are pretty health conscious, 10% of people like aren't, but they just don't generally just don't care, and you can't wait. But 80% of people are just completely oblivious that they're living a life of normalized mental and physical illness. Like how do you kind of wake these people up, you know what I mean? Because it's quite frustrating how confident they are in their normalized pathology too, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, no, yeah. It's what is it, the pigeon analogy? He'll walk across the board and shit everywhere and walk off thinking that it's not done anything wrong. I think it's something like that. Like it's like playing chess with a pigeon or whatever. Um, they, mate, to be honest with you, a lot of times I used to argue with people online when they used to come on my stuff and write. Now I just like I've got no interest. This is a waste of my time. It's like you'll learn the hard way. We all had to. You know, a lot of us, the only way we learn is the hard way. The other way is just to be a walking example, and then people are like, "Cool, what do you do? Like, you're in really good shape, or you look really well, or you're living a good life. How do you go about it?" And you tell them, and you be the inspiration. There's I can't remember his name, but he studied all the four or five big religions by spending 5 years studying them, living them. And he said there's four different ways to take religion. The first and the lowest is literally, and then it goes up to the highest version, which is inspiration. And if we can try and do that, try and inspire, try and be the light that that lighthouse that shines a light around. Um, I think so much. It's you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, and it's actually better for you rather than constantly. I've been a warrior, go out there and fight, and when this whole thing happened 4 or 5 years ago, I almost did myself damage by pushing so hard against it. And I think it's a much nicer, easier way just to go out there and just live your values, have conversations like this, and when the person's ready, then they'll come across it. Because if they're not ready, it doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want, and they're so. As you said, they need to be very aware. They need to want to change. They need to actually understand that something's wrong. And a lot of the time, that doesn't happen because they think they're normal and that we're not normal because of where we live. But everyone else is, drinking four or five times a week, or eating poor food, and taking drugs and doing whatever else, and that's normal. And they're all just in this constant state of dopamine and addiction, not understanding what's actually going on. So I think, yeah, just keep on doing our thing and spreading the message, having conversations, and living life, and hopefully inspiring people. And yeah, creating communities, and the community is a big one. I think the way that the world's going as well, Eugene, in terms of like AI and social media, I think it's going to be huge to actually get people together, have human interaction, um, to meet people, and to build communities of families and friends in whatever area you're living in. I think that's going to be big, but more and more people are getting ill now. It's MOT, matter of time, and so hopefully they wake up before. But if not, yeah, it's like, I don't know if you got into this because of your grandma, you said, and you had a family that were doing this. For me, I was very ill when I was young. I didn't know any different. I thought I was eating healthy. I was going down the route to become a professional athlete, and all the things that they told me to do, having all the supplements they told me. Like, the supplement industry is 99.9% is rubbish, but we know brands that are really good, and because we're in that world, we know what to pick. But most people go into supplement store, haven't got a clue what they're taking. They think it's
They're like, here's
healthy.
lead.
Lead,
Boom.
lead, corn syrup, was it? Um, coal tar, they're derived from highly toxic, highly toxic products, or yeah, and just they are. Was it? I think 85 or 90% of products tested didn't even have the ingredients in them that they said they did.
Hmm.
So people were buying things like ashwagandha or whatever. It had no ashwagandha in it. That's insane, right? And so once you understand, like, certain brands out there and certain companies that do things in quality, it's the same as anything. It's like, yeah, cheapest and best rarely go in the same sentence. When it's the same as food, so you're going to spend a bit more, but it's going to be worth it. There's nothing more expensive than a supplement that doesn't work. What's the point of buying a supplement for $20 if it doesn't work? You just wasted $20. Well, you might as well buy one for 40 and it actually works. So buy one for 40 and take it every other day rather than take it every day, or whatever it is. So you get, and so hopefully that, well, it answers the question a little bit. I went off on a tangent, but yeah,
Yeah. I have like I basically do what you're doing. You know what I mean? I stopped focusing on kind of saving the world like a long time ago, just focused on saving myself and then helping my clients and writing books, and whoever wants to read it, they can read it. But I do feel there's a little bit of a shortcoming with that philosophy, and I haven't figured out how to overcome it myself. And the whole entire episode from 19 or 2019 on with the shutdowns kind of shined light on it. And like in a plant, there's a balance that needs to happen between bacteria and fungi. And when bacteria starts overcoming fungi, the plant gets sick. You know what I mean, and dies, and then you get a lot of pests coming in to get rid of that plant. And I feel like with ideas, they're kind of like mind viruses, you know?
yeah,
And the people that, 9 out of 10 Americans right now are metabolically sick, they have a mind virus that is leading to certain behaviors that, in a way, lead to the deterioration of their biology, just like a virus would kill you. And this virus is very dangerous, and it might kill you. And the shutdown showed that and they're the majority. You know what I mean? And the shutdown showed that the sick majority might impose that mind virus onto you. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So I think, and this sort of goes against what you said a little while ago. For me, I want to be very, very wealthy. I want to have as much money as possible so I can help other people, but also because I want to be able to speak to the masses. And I think that's money. People think money is the root of all evil. It's like, no, money in the wrong hands is, but money in the hands of good people. Like Paul Check, for example, he's got an institute. He can spread his message far and wide. There's other people out there that are doing the same. And the more of us out there that have money, have wealth, but use it in a really, really good way to promote and push and to, that's the way, because there's so many people with nefarious ideas and these mind viruses they're pushing in. You know, when you've got Pfizer sponsoring everything that goes out on American TV, you need to have people with wealth to combat that and to put out a different. And so we
Mhm.
someone like Rogan, for example, look how many followers he's got now. He just recently had Susanna Humphreys on, as I said, and dissolving illusions. He's having conversations with people now that he would never would have had 5 years ago. So if we can have more people like that and getting it out to people, and it's funny because it's almost like the people that listen to that, it's like the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the people that take self responsibility. They're like, even if they're not one of us yet, the more they understand, if you want to be good at business, either you've got to be healthy, right? And so a lot of them do live in a certain way that detracts their health for a while until they hit a wall and they realise, oh, I need my help. But for me, it's trying to get the message out as far as wide as possible, um, and building a platform that I can do that from. But doing it through connections and collaborations, and and in different way, and creating things that people can maybe come to and meet and get the message out in different ways. Maybe even on different social media platforms as well, having things running in the background, like even adverts, just telling people what I've got free webinars and things that people can listen to. So the bigger that you get, and the more followers you get, and the more voice you have, it's you can reach more people. And so yeah, that's the only problem with not having enough wealth is that it's harder, I think, to get the message out in a bigger way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at least I don't know any other way. There might be some other third option or whatever that I'm not aware of. But yeah, I mean, that's the best way, to buy the politicians, to get yourself on the shows, to have
Yep.
the shows, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and then the masses, once they hear it enough, they kind of have no identity themselves, so they'll just copy and paste what you say, but which will be a better overall message for them. You know what I mean? There's a book called The Crowd by Gustavo Le Bon. It's like my favorite
Crowd.
book ever.
The
The
crowd.
Crowd. Yeah, it's like the psychology of the crowd.
Mm.
And he talks about how the crowd is so easy to manipulate because he mentions um, like, oh, you ask a person, let's say they're like, I believe ABC, and you ask them like, why, and they'll tell you, oh, because blah blah blah. Ask them why one more time, and see how like 95% of people go blank, and then just go, oh, that's just because how it is, which is an indication they base their whole entire persona and everything they believe about themselves just by mirroring their society, which is super sick right now, which is why people are so sick.
Yeah, 100%, mate. That's they've got it. I think they talked about the Catholic Church having the ability to brainwash people centuries ago, millennia ago, and they do this. People watch their TV program and they come out speaking like their favorite TV character. Humans imitate, right? And
Hmm.
so that they do this. So that's why they push the fear and everything else. And you could have walked outside your house 5 years ago and everything would have been fine. Absolutely no different to any other day. Because the person on the TV told them something, they all believed it. And they'll just imitate. And so, as you said, yeah, most of them, they haven't got any depth, but hopefully we can teach them that. And long form conversation that they never used to do, it is growing. Podcasts have done that. Conversations like this, and people will listen, and the people that want to listen, and then they'll give birth to children that are like this. More and more people, I think, they'll be having. There's more people. The organic health industry is probably one of the biggest growing markets on the planet. And so I think I think we're doing. There's more good being done than I think people realise. but we just keep on putting it out there and keep on moving the needle. And I think we've already, I think Ken Wilber talked about, you know, the amount of people, percent of people to be conscious it actually takes to change the earth. And it's only like 7 to 8%, and the whole world completely lights up. I don't know if you can correct me on that, but I think more people are awakening, and these conversations are becoming more and more accepted. I mean, back in the day, even 5 years ago, I talked about certain things and people thought I was a nutcase. Now, no, 10 years ago, I talked about gut health. People were like, what's that? Now it's known, you know, and people are more aware that there are things going on that are not for their benefit, and there's things going in
Mhm.
the food and the water supply, and they're not for their benefit. Um, and so, yeah, we'll just keep on spreading the message far and wide, and yeah, just looking to just create change and raising the vibration of humanity. Basically, it's like that's the way to do it, and just to do it in as many different ways as possible. If we hit a few of them, it only takes a few. It doesn't take much. So once that fire is lit, I think that fire has been lit and it's starting to roar. So that's why I think 2020 happened, and why other things sort of happened because they're a bit scared of their consciousness level rising, or people understanding at deeper level what's going on. So they try to plunge people into fear and division as much as possible, like they do with politics and everything. You know, so it's quite American politics takes over the West. Um, when you remove yourself from that as well, you just start living your life and doing what you can rather than getting worked up by what's on the TV or what's on the news. It's a much nicer, calmer, more balanced existence, right? I heard this a few years ago, and I was like, this is so true. Politics is Hollywood for ugly people, and it's like it's a film, or it's a narrative going on, and it's one side, and then it goes one side to the next, and people sitting there eating their popcorn. Have you seen what she said? And you see what it's like. None of it makes any difference to your life if you just go out there and actually, go where you're treated best, live as healthy as possible, and move towards your passion and purpose, and things change in a big way. Um, and if society goes left, generally going right is the best option.
Not generally, like literally every time. I'll say more times than not. And yeah, I mean, like, dude, getting rid of the news is so silly. It's like, okay, I understand if you're going to get into politics and go run for office, or hey, you're going to, you want to help Ukraine, they have volunteer battalions. Go help them. You know what I mean? Um, unless you're doing that, like, why are you following it? You know what I mean? There's no reason. It's a waste of time. And then on top of that, you see people that are like, it's like, dude, you're down in half a bottle of antidepressants. You have problems at home with yourself that you need to worry about and resolve before you start worrying about what's going on 5,000 miles away. You know what I mean?
It's easier though, isn't it? It's easier to worry about that than to take care of it, to actually do the work and to avoid the things they want to avoid.
It's a
People take,
form of dissociation, I think.
yeah, yeah,
Not I think, I know.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
People think they're good people because they take pseudo moralistic stances on big social issues so they can look good to their friends and family. But
Yeah.
it doesn't, as you said, you want to change the world, be a, be a better version of yourself. And if everyone did that, it really does change the game. It really does change the game.
Yeah.
Everyone just become a better version of themselves. I'm, I'm going to have to shoot off right now because I've got a call, unfortunately, um, in a bit. But enjoyed this, mate. We should definitely do this more often. Um, was there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I think we covered some good bases. Whoever listens to it, man. I mean, the answers are there. And if you want honest change, you got to go on an honest health journey. And that's your only option. All these quick fixes, they don't fix anything at the end of the day, and it doesn't work. And if it worked, why are the people still overweight, all medically drugged out, and everything in their 40s and 50s? I mean, that's 4 to 5 decades. It should have worked by now, but it's not. So clearly. You can't keep doing what doesn't work and then expect all of a sudden to work, you know?
If all the quick fixes work, then there wouldn't be a need for any quick fixes, right?
Yeah.
It would just be them. And so, yeah, when you start to actually, as I said before, take responsibility for yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, see what's actually working, what's not, and then if you need to, ask for help. Nothing wrong with asking for help from people that are professionals. You know, people go to a mechanic to fix their car, so why don't you go to someone like us to help you through your health issues? But you know, hopefully people get what they can from this. And yeah, as you said, whoever listens, listens. I'll post it on my socials and see what happens.
Cool. Well, it's good to see you again, man. Stay safe, okay?
You too, brother.
Okay.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
And everyone that joined, thank you and have a good weekend. Okay.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you've ever had trouble losing weight, or you've lost weight, but still didn't have the ideal body or health you're aiming for, please feel free to reach out anytime and book an assessment. Eugene will work with you to cover your goals in detail, see what's holding you back, and go from there. In the meantime, feel free to check out the countless testimonials on Eugene's website in the link below. In the testimonial section, you'll notice everyone has various backgrounds, are of all different ages, and all have had different challenges in their life, but they all have one thing in common: they were all able to find their health and achieve their ideal body. You're also welcome to add yourself to the Facebook group in the link below. There you'll have access to the live videos that Eugene does weekly on Sundays, and other helpful content. Thank you again for tuning in.